WBOK.
Better pay attention.
Powered by Cox Business. WBOK New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to keeping and finding great teachers for our students in Orleans Parish. If you or someone you know is interested in becoming a teacher for the 25-26 school year, let us help you. We've created the New Orleans Teacher Job Board, which is the official job platform of public schools in New Orleans. You can apply to any school in the city. Simply post your resume and provide information about yourself. Visit our website to learn more and apply. www.neworleansteacherjobboard.org.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. LA Mayor Karen Bass slammed Vice President J.D. Vance's comments during his visit Friday, calling them nonsense.
Today, the Vice President of the United States spent 3 or 4 hours in LA before holding a press conference and spewing lies and utter nonsense.
She criticized ICE raids for spreading fear and separating families. New York is boosting security after U.S. strikes on Iran. Governor Kathy Hochul says state police are protecting at-risk sites and guarding against cyber attacks. Black Mayor Eric Adams ordered more NYPD patrols around religious and cultural locations citywide. And a new study ranks Gainesville, Florida as the most dangerous college town in the U.S. based on crimes per 10,000 residents. The list from WasatchDefenseLawyers.com names Berkeley, California as the safest college town in the nation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
WBOK, The Good Morning Show, 12:30 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. As is always true, I'm here, Dr. Wyatt's usually here, we have guests, but you are the most important part of the Good Morning Show. So if you got something to say, something to ask, we want to hear from you. 504-582-9422. I'm going to pause right now and let you know that Dr. Wyatt is out sick. So this is one of those times when, people say, in my prayers or with somebody, thoughts and prayers, we wish you well. I'm going to take a pause, and I hope you will with me to say a prayer for Dr. Wyatt. Lord, dear God, I pray that whatever is bothering Dr. Wyatt, that you will touch her this morning, that you will touch her from head to toe, fingertip to fingertip, side to side, and front to back. Reach inside and touch all of her skin, her internal organs, her brain. Touch everything that possibly could be leading to ailment or making her feel bad. Lord, I pray that you will heal her during this show, and if not, as soon as it is your will today. Lord, we need our lioness. We need our activist, our advocate. make her well, and let her do her thing. In the name of your Lord, our Lord Jesus Christ, amen. All right. Hope you're feeling better today, Dr. Wyatt. Man, oh man, oh man. So what did we just do? What did we just do? There's a lot of things in the news, local, state, and national and international. But probably the biggest thing is that the United States government, under the direction of President Donald Trump, has struck Iran. 3 nuclear facilities, and it's being perceived as war by some and a targeted attack by others. The president has dubbed this Operation Midnight Hammer, and it started at midnight on Friday, which means it was first thing Saturday morning, and there was a group of B-2 stealth bombers that took off from an Air Force base in Kansas City. So that means they had to travel across half of the United States, over the ocean, all the way over to Iran. And for whatever reasons, the Iranian government, it seems, did not detect what was going on. So this had to be planned more than just hours or days, because there were bombers that flew west as decoys, and other planes that would ultimately go over Iranian airspace to fly east and to attack their targets. So there were about 14 bunker buster bombs on these sites, particularly at Fordo, and I think it's called Natanz, Natanz, and that was between 5:40 p.m. our time and 6:05 p.m. our time. So they struck 3 nuclear sites. These are sites that if you take time and look for it, you could see that just a few years ago, Iran was building something out in this desolate territory, and it took some time for them to construct it, these things. And then in more recent years and months, you can see where it's covered up as if nothing was ever there. Now, do we have such a thing? Of course we do. And Iran is alleged to have been building the bomb, the nuclear bomb, the big one. And they're so close, in the opinion of Israel and the United States, the West, and even Middle Eastern nations, that they are fearful that a nuclear bomb in the hands of a government that many see as unstable would lead to millions of deaths. And not just in the Middle East, but across the United Nations. The United States, South America, North America, Africa, elsewhere in the world. So we don't know where they would be targeting those things, if they are indeed building those up to be nuclear bombs. But we know that our mission involved 125 aircraft, and there were about 75 precision-guided weapons dropped in these multiple locations. Of course, this comes after Israel targeted Iran, setting off a flurry of comments and ranges of thoughts about why they would do such a thing. But of course, in the context of Israel, a small nation state that it is, but important as it is for that region and for the world, they feel deeply threatened since Iran has pledged not just to be an enemy of the state of Israel, but that indeed they want to destroy Israel. So that's not a guess. That is a reality. That is written. They have made that pledge that they do not think. Okay, I see a caller. Looks like we got Pop Jones. So I'm going to press the line. Pop Jones, are you there? Pop Jones, are you there?
Yeah.
Good morning.
I enjoyed the prayer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And I enjoyed the prayer. And I prayed for it too. I miss them. All the hosts are great. But I've been trying to understand that we attack that country. Are we protecting America? Or are we fighting for someone else?
Good questions. What do you think, Pop?
I don't. You know, I'm not the sharpest.
Oh, come on.
I
You
just
spent enough decades.
I just ask the hard questions.
All right.
I'm like the great John Lewis. If you see something, say something.
All right. Okay. Well,
And so I get my lessons from WBOK.
And we thank you for tuning in every day and throughout the day, Bob. The President of the United States says that this is the protection of U.S. citizens, in part because the closer that Iran gets to having nuclear bombs, the more likely that they will use them, and not just on Israel. If you recall, the president went to the G7 summit and abruptly left before the summit had really gotten into, I think, even the second or third day. And he had important matters to take care of. Apparently, this might have been one of those important matters, getting up to date on this. And there are news reports now that the Iranians sent him a message while he was at the G7 summit to let him know, in no uncertain terms, that if the United States chose to join Israel by attacking Iran, that they would look at some secret cells that they have planted across the United States and direct them to attack. So
Now,
that's not the same thing as a nuclear bomb, but over the course of history, of course, we have seen attacks like 9/11. So that that's the type of thing when they're talking about cells, they're talking about different types of attacks, and they don't just mean New York. Does that help?
So what? Yeah, but what I'm looking at, Iran has not even fired a bullet. What's going on with that?
Well, I'm going to simplify this in terms of football. All right, so this is far away from war and targeted strikes, but when you are preparing for the season, you're getting your fighters on the field in the best shape possible. Every man has to know their position. They have to know the plays, and they have to know what the aim is. But also, as you're preparing for the season, and as you go into the season, you're preparing to go into battle on the football field against other teams. So you are looking at the players on the other teams, the coaching history of the opposition coach, seeing what moves they have made in certain different situations. And you also are looking at the top threats, quote unquote, top threats. So maybe the quarterback is a top threat. And maybe, so what they're looking at is how can we neutralize the biggest threats? So that's a kind of a situation where, in the case of nuclear power, the Iran has enough material to make a nuclear bomb. There's thinking that they are fairly close, and much of the world doesn't want them to get their hands on a nuclear bomb. So I hope that helps. But this is definitely...
but something else I noticed that I don't want to take up too much of your time, that General Honoré was the only one that came out to support the American people, what was going on in California. Now, since this has happened, I see some of the retired generals and colonels have coming out to support the administration with this. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, there are a split among prominent military people and politicians and diplomats because they have different views about when we should take actions like this. So the one of the things that has happened is that this is being viewed as entering the war between Israel and Iran. The president and Hegseth and folks on his team say it's not a war, it's a targeted strike. And so I don't think they've used the names of previous presidents, but Obama did have targeted strikes while he was president in his terms, as did other presidents before them. So there's a line where Congress in particular has to authorize war. Congress doesn't have to authorize
Yeah, well,
a
that's
strike.
what I noticed. Congress, the Senate, nobody had nothing to do with none of this.
Well, can't say nobody, because there are people on his team that very much had to be a part of it, of course. And the Hegseth is the leader of our military, like him or not, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and the Air Force General Dan Kane, who is the I just want to put some other names out there other than Donald Trump. Air Force General Dan Kane, who is also the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So they report to the president, but they review the intel, and they make suggestions based on intelligence that they get. I have to say, post-strike, the information that was provided was essentially overwhelming success, great success, but not much in the way of details of what exactly happened. So that's something that we'll look for in the coming days. It's something that I think we are owed, and something that previous presidents have provided. Pop, we're going to have to take another call.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for engaging with me this
all
morning.
American people are not dummies.
That's right, absolutely. But they do need information. We do need information.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right, thank you, Pop.
Tell Dr. Wise hello for me.
Absolutely. We've got Kevin on the next line. Kevin, good morning.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Absolutely, positively. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning to all your listeners. I just want to say this. Smart ears and dumb ears, as dumb ears and smart ears. In other words, quit saying we smart or we not dumb when we doing dumb stuff. Okay?
I got you.
Life is really not that complex.
Mm-hmm.
You treat people, and this is my story has always been. Every time I come on here, the fundamental never changes. You treat people as you would want them to treat your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's a simple philosophy in life that covers all categories. Okay, so and if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Look.
So what's your Kevin? Let me ask you this question. So what's your take on Israel's attack on Iran and now our attack on Iran? What's your take?
Like I said, keep it simple. And if we don't, when it starts getting too complex, somebody trying to hide something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm keeping it simple with that philosophy. I look at it how we live. I live my personal life. The bottom line is this: if I see a person has a particular tendency to be less than morally upstanding, I have to accept the fact that if I don't treat that person like that, I'm probably going to suffer the consequences of what I see that person do. Okay? I mean, that's just logical. So to address that question from that perspective, how many countries have dropped nuclear weapons on people in this world?
I get you. But,
one. Let's not be scared to say it.
We know which one, right? Us.
Okay, so let's not be scared to say it.
That's right.
You can't fix the problem if you're not willing to put it out in the daylight. Okay? So the bottom line is this. If I tell these gang members we need to have a peace summit, because I understand the consequences of them warring with each other means bullets without names on it get to hurt innocent people.
All right, Kevin.
Why wouldn't bombs do the same thing?
Yep. Kevin, we've got to take a break. And on the other side, good folks, thank you for calling, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Hope you continue listening and call on another show. You brought up very good points. And folks, we are at WBOK, 1230 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. We love hearing from you. We're going to take a break. On the flip side of the break, we're going to hear from Gary, Indiana Mayor Eddie D. Melton. What is it like being in a predominantly black city like Gary, Indiana, and we live in predominantly black New Orleans? Let's get some comparisons, let's get some information, and see what's happening in Gary, Indiana, home of the Jackson 5. You're listening to WBOK, the station that everybody's listening to all day long.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
WBOK family. This is the Good Morning Show. I'm Will Sutton. I'm a columnist with the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, and co-host of the Good Morning Show with Dr. Ashanta White. She is out sick today, and we pray for her healing. We pray that she gets the rest and the care and the loving that she deserves, and that she'll be back as soon as she is ready. So we had a good conversation about Iran. Thanks to Pops and Kevin for engaging in that part of the show. We tell you on the flip side of the break, which is now, that we'll be talking to Mayor Eddie D. Melton of Gary, Indiana. And I know that he's heard this before. Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana. So we're going to say good morning to Good Morning, Mayor Melton. This is Will Sutton on the Good Morning Show, WBOK. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I am happy to talk with you. You probably did not know before arrangements were made for you to be on our show this morning that you'd be talking to Will Sutton, and that probably means absolutely nothing to you. Is that correct?
I've heard the name before.
Well, let me tell you. So I'm going to kind of ease into this way. How old are you, Mayor Melton?
I am 44 years old.
Okay. So in 1991, 92, 93, how old were you?
Oh, wow. I was in elementary school. Let's just put it like that.
Which elementary school were you at?
Jefferson.
Okay. And how old were you by, say, 96?
Oh, wow. I would say 12, 13 years old.
Okay. And what school were you at?
I was at Beckman.
Okay. And what high school did you go to?
Horace Mann.
Okay. I've been to each of those schools.
Okay.
I was a Gary, Indiana resident in Glen Park.
Oh, man. Oh.
I lived on Morningside Drive. I was the managing editor and then the editor of the Post-Tribune when we still were in Gary, Indiana on Broadway.
Oh, wow. Now that's a blast from the past right there.
But that was then. This is now for folks who don't know about I-90 and I-94 and 65. And tell us where Gary, Indiana is in Indiana, and do you all follow the Indiana Pacers or not?
Well, I think you know the answer to that one.
I know the answer.
Listen, we're in Northwest Indiana, just about 30 minutes from downtown Chicago. So we're in the Chicagoland area. Although I grew up a Bears and Bulls fan and will forever be a Bears and Bulls fan, I was rooting for the Pacers last night just because, I'm still a Hoosier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's called, in more familiar terms, the region.
Exactly.
up that way. And Gary, Indiana has been a part of our national consciousness for a very long time. So I was around when Richard Gordon Hatcher was still around. He wasn't mayor at that time, but had the wonderful opportunity to get to know him a bit. And
yes.
and because I lived there and the people of Gary really took me in, I've been following things there off and on through the years. So congratulations. I know you took office in January 2024 after being elected in 2023 and defeated Mayor Prince, who followed my friend Karen Freeman Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but what's going on in Gary, Indiana these days? If there was like one business connection that people nationally would know, what would that be? I think I know the answer, but you tell us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I'm extremely proud of the work that's taking place over the last year and a half, coming off the heels of being state senator here in Northwest Indiana for 8 years. And to be mayor of the city that raised me is truly an honor and a blessing. But just recently, there was a major deal that has been completed in the partnership of U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel, which is the world's fourth largest steel producer. And U.S. Steel is an iconic name, iconic brand in this country that helped build this nation, be it if it's the highways, byways, the skyscrapers, our military arsenal and fleet. You know, U.S. Steel is very prominent in that historic category. So, as you know, a lot of folks migrated, especially within the Black diaspora, from the South to the North to find a better life of living, to improve their financial well-being, to work in the mills. And Gary and other neighboring communities was one of those locations where people like my grandparents that came from either Opelika, Alabama, or Mississippi migrated to Gary. So Gary has a true history of steel making, but also being a true producer of talent and gifts throughout this country.
So that Nippon Steel deal was talked about for the last couple of few years. It wasn't certain that it would happen. A number of folks who were pro-Nippon Steel deal made the argument that without this deal, the U.S. steel industry would potentially collapse, and that at the very least, they would not be very strong. So Nippon Steel deal, they acquired U.S. Steel, based in Gary, for $14 million or so, and agreed to invest in $11 billion in operations overall. But I believe it was about $3 billion for Gary Works. Does that sound about right?
Yes. So originally, I was skeptical of the deal, like many people, to have a foreign entity seek to buy this iconic company. But once I learned from the CEO of U.S. Steel that without this sale, that there was inevitably going to be plant closures in many of their plants around the country, that drew very great concern for myself and my team. So I did my due diligence, meeting and talking with both sides, the leadership of Nippon as well as the leadership of U.S. Steel, to gain a better understanding. Like I mentioned before, the original attempt was to purchase U.S. Steel for $14.9 billion. Mm-hmm. And at that time, the original investment was $300 million only in the city of Gary, mm-hmm. which was fine at that moment, but realizing that that was a limited investment that would only last 20 or 30 years, we're looking at how do we make an investment that's going to last decades and generations. As you know, at its height, U.S. Steel had nearly 30,000 employees. And right now, because of automation, because of the economy and downsizing, we're at about 4,000 employees. And they're still one of our largest employers in the city of Gary and throughout Northwest Indiana. So right now, through the negotiations, we were able to get that $300 million to $3 billion investment into Gary, relining all four, not just one, which was going to be originally, but all four blast furnaces for increasing the demand and steel production. And there was also a national security interest in terms of protecting the United States, protecting our steel production, making sure that the ownership, the leadership, and the board members remain American, remain local, which is something that we're extremely proud of, to ensure that this is, although a partnership, not a purchase, but a partnership between U.S. Steel and Nippon, that this is going to make a substantial investment in our local economy and increase the number of jobs.
Increase the number of jobs.
Absolutely.
At Gary
The
Works.
projection, yeah, absolutely. The projection across the states that U.S. Steel are located is over 100,000 new jobs. We're right now in talks and conversations to determine what is that number going to be specifically in Gary, so we can partner with Nippon, partner with our local institutions, our high schools and our trades, as well as, if you remember, Ivy Tech Community College.
I do.
To help people prepare for those jobs. I've talked directly to the CEO of Nippon as well as their chairman of the board, and this is something that they're very much interested and serious about because there's going to be a high demand in the workforce.
And Ivy Tech is the community college doing great work in Indiana. For those of you here in greater New Orleans who may not be familiar with the words Ivy Tech. Mr. Mayor, as you well know, one of the ongoing matters of discussion and debate has been the Gary Convention Center and hotel project. Tell us about what's going on with that.
No, absolutely. Another project I'm very proud of. It all starts going back to 2019 when I was state senator. I co-sponsored the legislation to relocate our casino from the lakefront of Lake Michigan. A lot of folks don't realize that Gary sits on a lake, and yes, Gary has a beach. We have a beach, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a beautiful beach, part of the National Dunes here in Indiana that we share along the coastline with Chicagoland area. If you've ever been to Navy Pier, you'll know we share that same coastline.
And let me just say, unlike some other municipal beaches, Gary's Beach is not only open, but it is a neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Miller Beach neighborhood, which is a beautiful neighborhood that shares access to the national park and 5 miles of beachfront property. So it's unlike any other community that you may know of in the Midwest. It's something we're very proud of. But coming off the heels of being state senator and passing the legislation to relocate our casino, we were the lowest revenue generating casino in the state of Indiana for almost 15 to 20 years. Once we relocated that casino from Buffington Harbor, which is on the lake, we repositioned it on 8094, which is now the Hard Rock Casino. And right now we went from the lowest revenue generating casino to the highest in the last 3 to 4 years, which has provided us with substantial amounts of investment in our community. The last year I was state senator, I passed a bill, Senate Bill 434, that did multiple things. Number one, it provided us funding for blight elimination. So the state matched dollar for dollar up to $6 million. So we have $12 million that goes into blight elimination for downtown. And then if a lot of folks may have seen videos on YouTube and that paint Gary in this grim and dim light because of the abandoned structures. Well, those structures are coming down right now as we speak because of the funding that we've passed in that bill, and we've been able to match that money with local dollars that we have, as well as funding that Hard Rock contributed to get us to that $12 million. The second thing that bill did was provide us $3 million for the next 20 years of matching funding to build a brand new train station right there that you're aware of at the gateway of U.S. Steel and the gateway to I-90.
Yep.
That train station is going to be another economic catalyst in parallel as the blight elimination is taking place right downtown. But lastly, to your point, it also provides us $5 million matching dollars for the next 25 years to pay for a $100 million plus convention center. That convention center we were awarded in a very competitive process. We're doing a public-private partnership with the Hard Rock Casino and a local developer that has parcels of land, and we're getting ready to break ground probably within the next 6 to 8 months on this beautiful new facility. Hard Rock is building a new hotel and a developer across the street will be building 2 new hotels and 2 new restaurants. And since you know about Gary, you realize we had no hotels
That's right.
proper in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a catalyst, and people know that the key thing is location, location, location. Right next to the Hard Rock and the new location for this convention center, future location, is 8094. 300,000 cars per day go past 8094. And we're trying to maximize that to the greatest of our ability to not have it just gaming, but also entertainment and hospitality as well.
Well, that's pretty incredible, and that's good news. I mean, so often when people elsewhere think about Gary, Indiana, and they think of Gary as a has-been city, once active and vibrant, but not much. But one thing about occasionally being in the national news with something like Nippon, you can keep trudging along and seeing that your citizens, your residents, are getting what they need, what they deserve. The good people of Gary, Indiana. Can you compare the convention center that is being planned to what previously existed?
Well, the former convention center that was here, that was actually built by my mentor, Mayor Richard Gordon Hatcher, whom you mentioned.
Yep.
And a lot of folks, to keep history alive, we have to always let it be known that Mayor Hatcher was the first black mayor elected in the United States of a major city. Apparently, I go back and forth with Mayor Bibb in Cleveland.
Yes.
Between Mayor Hatcher and Carl Stokes, and the history there, the Mayor Hatcher was elected first, but Mayor Stokes was sworn in first.
Right.
So that's always a competitive point in black culture that we talk about.
But that's the truth. Elected.
Yes. So that's the key word. But Mayor Hatcher, you think about in the early 80s, you had a black mayor, a predominantly black city council that hired a black engineer. They had a black architect that designed the corridor of downtown Gary, where they built a beautiful, at that time it was the Hudson and Campbell sports facility. We had a hotel that connected from that sports facility to a then convention center, at its time the Genesis Convention Center. If we compare the two now, the Genesis Convention Center is more of an arena versus a convention center that can host the type of or the caliber of events that we see today in most major cities around the U.S. But sadly, my predecessor, not to rehash old things, sold that property, and it has fell in dilapidation. So we're right now, we've put a request for proposals and information to partner with entities that will be willing to redevelop that site, which is going to be across the street from the brand new train station.
Oh, okay. I get it. Folks, we are talking to Mayor Eddie D. Melton of Gary, Indiana. So happy to have him with us on the Good Morning Show today. If you want to call, the number is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. We're going to have to go to break shortly, but Mr. Mayor, I would like you to tell our listeners what's up and coming with Gary, another thing or two that you're proud of, or what's about to happen that we might hear about later.
Well, we've talked about the significant amount of investment, the $3 billion investment through U.S. Steel that is going to equate to more tax dollars that's going to be received for us to invest in our infrastructure, to be invested in our school system, and so many other things of that nature, just to improve the overall quality of life for the residents. But right now, just so many great things that's happening. A lot of new corporations are looking at Gary, coming into Gary. We just struck a deal with FedEx. FedEx and their partners are getting ready to build a 300,000 square foot warehouse that's going to bring 600 new jobs to the community. And that's going to be right by the Gary Chicago Airport. A lot of folks don't realize that Gary has an international airport in conjunction with the city of Chicago.
Absolutely. And it took a long time, but it did happen. So, all right,
yes,
we got a caller, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, no problem.
Telly.
Good morning, everyone. I have no idea why my good friend Eddie Melton is on the radio in New Orleans this morning, but I have no idea why he feels obligated to call in. He needs to go deal with the problems in Gary. Don't be calling New Orleans, Mr. Mayor, rather. But I will tell you, Eddie Melton is a good husband, a good father, an even better man. He has the heart of humanity, and I'm grateful to call him a friend. I will let him. He told me that he was going to run for the state senate, but I will say we were sitting at the Sea of Galilee when we did it. That's a real story, and that he has transformed the city of Gary and surrounding area. Mr. Mayor, grateful to God for you to be a friend. Happy to have you participating within a conversation about America. And remember the name Eddie Melton. 2026, 2028, and the future of democratic politics and politics in this country, because he's going to do an amazing thing. That's all I called him to say. Eddie Melton, I love you. Tell the wife I said hello.
Love you too, my brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Sounds like one of the things that will be coming in the future is Mayor Eddie Melton. People looking ahead.
I got to say this if I can. Telly Medina in New Orleans is a dear friend. That story that he shared is true. Telly and I met each other in Israel during a time where I was contemplating running for Senate. And not knowing him, I told him that I was getting ready to run. And when I came back, I launched my campaign, and he came and knocked doors and supported me and brought some friends with him from around the country. So it's good. He's doing phenomenal things in New Orleans, but not just in New Orleans, around the country. So we got a lot of love for Telly Medina.
Well, that's a good friend, and a heck of a way to start a friendship, to share something so important, and then have him involved in your campaign because he wanted to see that you would be successful. Well, we really thank you for calling in, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to share my information via our producer and get yours so that you know that a former Gary resident is here in New Orleans. I am a columnist with the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, and co-host of the Good Morning Show with Dr. Ashante Wyatt. We really appreciate you calling and filling us in on the good things that you are doing for the people of Gary, Indiana, and that region. And we're going to have to go to break. Folks, you are listening to WBOK 1230 AM, the station that everybody's talking about all day long. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Thank you to your listening audience.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. It is 7:51, so if you got some place to be at 8 o'clock, boy, you better get up and get going. But keep us on your radio. Keep us on the Facebook. Keep listening because we're always going to have more to the show. And later in the show, we're going to have C.J. Marbley, Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Operating Officer at the New Orleans East Hospital. He's going to be talking to us about the upcoming hospital farmers market, which is going to be on June 25th. So we'll hear more about that in just a bit. But we got Don. Don is on the line. So again, the talk line is 504-582-9422. Let's see what Mr. Don has to say today. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
On to you, Mr. Sutton, and Dr. Wise. She's out. Wish her speed recovery and recuperation.
Thank you.
Yes. But I don't know how you get in a conversation with the Mayor Melton of Gary, Indiana. And you talk about anything out of Gary. You know, my generation, the main thing came out of Gary for us was the Jackson 5.
I got you.
I mean, you can't. Matter of fact, their first record they recorded was not at Motown, but it was a label called Steeltown Records in Gary, Indiana.
Yep.
At 2300 Jackson Street.
I've been there.
Yeah. They should build a convention center and hotel around 2300 Jackson Street, like they did Graceland. You know what I'm talking about, Elvis?
The neighbors might have something to say about that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and even the Black Butterfly, the Empress, the extraordinary singer, Denise Williams is from Gary, Indiana.
Absolutely.
She did the popular duet with the retiring Johnny Mathis. You know, Johnny Mathis is 89 years young.
Yes.
And he's retiring from performing.
Still got it. Yep.
Yeah. So
you're talking about
what I'm saying is, we talk about all these industrial buildings and convention centers and hotels. All those things require one aspect, and that's people. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if you could have asked them, what are the plans for, if you will, this should be a incentive, baby bonds for people who are having children. You know the after World War II, they call it the generation baby boomers because the government incentivized families, creating families, and they protected the mother. Today we don't protect would-be mothers with morbidity rates being high, and the care of mothers, the prenatal and all of these aspects, and we're trying to get rid of Medicaid and always messing around with medicine advancements. So all of these plans that these mayors and these governors and these state reps have are great plans, but you must include the family, which is the nucleus of any civil and civic society. And we have to invest in those families where they are with proper education, medicine, entertainment, enjoyment, and quality of life. If you start with those issues, you can build as many buildings and convention centers, hotels as you would like, because you will have the families there who can, occupy and visit those areas quite frequently, a part of their education and entertainment as well. So it all starts with families.
Yep. And speaking of families, you brought up the house. for those who don't know, if you've never been there or had any reason to share information about it, it's a little bitty tiny house. It's like 2 small bedrooms. And so that big old family was raised in the 2 bedrooms and the living room and the dining room and the kitchen. They didn't have much space to work with, but that's where that talent was developing. It is a neighborhood. It's one house in a neighborhood that the folks there are very happy that the Jacksons live there, but they look at it as it's another house with a great history, but they're trying to take care of their neighborhood. Then Gary is about 75% black, and there's still white people who live in Gary, Indiana, and particularly in that Miller Beach area where the mayor was talking about. That's lakefront property, because it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. But Don, you're absolutely
Sutton,
right about the people. And you know, I'm going to make a connection with Gary in New Orleans, because one of the things that Gary has been experiencing is trying to save their public schools, and so they have had a somewhat similar, it's not the same, somewhat similar charter school
Mr. Sutton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
If they're having issues, that's what I was proposing in the beginning. If they're having issues with the 2300 Jackson Street, they can move the house into a museum. They can actually move the house into a museum and just actually build a replica of the neighborhood as part of the museum, if that's causing problems. I'm sure it has a lot of traffic and things of that nature, but they do it all the time where they move it into perhaps somewhere where it's protected, like I said, put it in the museum area and just build a replica of the neighborhood to give it that feel, and build the conventions and hotels around it.
Well,
that's how, you have to have a real big imagination.
I don't want to give the mistaken impression that the neighbors don't like having the house there. They do. But the Jacksons still own that house, and sometimes a relative stays there and sometimes they don't. Their point is that their homes and their livelihoods and their families are being raised there, and they appreciate the historic value of the Jackson home on Jackson Street. And people do come on a regular basis, but it's not like big crowds. So it's not.
One other thing, Mr. Sutton, Mr. Joseph, the patriarch of the family, Joseph Jackson, who was originally born in the state of Arkansas, he worked at U.S. Steel, I believe, as a crane operator. So he was working in the steel industry when he was raising his family. And his mother, their mother, Catherine Jackson, I forgot her maiden name, she's originally from Alabama. And they say she was a big country music fan. So they migrated to Gary, like many people did.
Absolutely.
Migrated for jobs, for opportunities, for work.
Good jobs.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Don. And, one of the things I remember about those good steel jobs, I had friends who they bought a new car every other year because they could. They were making good money. And, if you ever been around a steel mill, it has a certain stench. But the folks that I knew, was like, Sutton, that's the smell of money.
Well, let me say this. Let me ask you a question, an economic question then. With the $1 trillion infrastructure act passed by President Joe Biden, why, and many, they have been reports by engineering firms that our bridges and roads need repair and even replacement in some cases. Why is it that they're talking about still closing down plants when the infrastructure bill includes bridges, tunnels, overpasses, things that require a lot of steel? Wouldn't we be wouldn't U.S. Steel still be a very viable, profitable company? Or is it an issue of management, upper management, and vision and moving to a modern way of doing steel as far as its application? I just don't understand how the Infrastructure Act that was passed, over $1 trillion, and we're talking about selling very historic businesses that's predicated to those industry that needs the material that we use for infrastructure. I just don't understand.
Right. No, I get it. One of the things that happened is that President Trump, when he became president, he directed federal agencies to pause funding on those Biden infrastructure bills. So, that's kind of part of the thing that's happening, that because of all of his other antics that get more media attention, we don't realize some of the things that he's stopping that were things that were made progress under President Biden. Folks, Don, we're going to have to go to break.
Yeah. One quick thing. Our U.S. military striking Iran, but our U.S. military shipbuilding carriers take 10 to 12 years to build and another 5 to 7 years to plan. So he's throwing our country into national crisis with holding up the infrastructure bill, especially when you talk about national defense.
All right, Don. Thank you so much for calling. Appreciate your call, folks. You're listening to WBOK. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. We're going to go to break, and on the other side of the break, we're going to hear from C.J. Marbley, Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Operating Officer at New Orleans East Hospital. You're listening to WBOK 1230 AM, the station that everybody's talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to keeping and finding great teachers for our students in Orleans Parish. If you or someone you know is interested in becoming a teacher for the 25-26 school year, let us help you. We've created the New Orleans Teacher Job Board, which is the official job platform of public schools in New Orleans. You can apply to any school in the city. Simply post your resume and provide information about yourself. Visit our website to learn more and apply. www.neworleansteacherjobboard.org.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Pentagon says Operation Midnight Hammer was the largest B-2 bomber strike in U.S. history. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, said he believes the U.S. struck a blow to Iran's nuclear ambitions.
Initial battle damage assessments indicate that all three sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
Defense officials say President Trump's strike on Iran's nuclear sites was a success, with every target hit. A black couple from Georgia has been awarded $2.25 million after their baby was decapitated during delivery, and the autopsy was posted online without consent. The pathologist, Dr. Jackson Gates, was found liable for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. And Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets and found out live on stage. During a panel at Fanatics Fest, Durant looked stunned as fans shouted the news. Moderator Taylor Rooks confirmed it. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
WBOK family, you're listening to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. We just had a great conversation with Don, and before that, the mayor of Gary, Indiana. Before that, we talked about Iran. That's a big thing. It's unsettling what this might lead to. But we got some good things going on in the city of New Orleans, and one of those good things is the farmers market at New Orleans East Hospital. So joining us right now is C.J. Marbley, who is the Chief Nursing Officer and Chief Operating Officer at New Orleans East Hospital. If you're a regular listener, you have heard him before.
Good morning.
If you're on Facebook, you've seen the good-looking brother before, the brother who looks so young. It's like, how could you possibly have all those years in your career?
Yeah. Hey,
You're taking care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
And that's part of what you all are trying to do with this farmers market. Tell us about the farmers market that's coming up on June 25th.
Yes. So good morning. Thanks for having me. We're excited about the farmers market coming back. We're having it every last Wednesday of the month, right outside, right in front of New Orleans East Hospital, right in the east, 5620 Reed Boulevard. And we're excited about all the opportunities it provides local vendors to bring their goods and services out to the community and provide really healthy options for people to shop right there in their community. Because, New Orleans East, can be considered a food desert when you look at the amount of fresh foods that are available for people to shop in the East. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of grocery stores, but very limited options compared to other places in the city. And so we want to do whatever we can to supply the community of New Orleans East with whatever it needs. And with this, it's around healthy food options.
And it starts at 2 p.m. and
starts at 2
6?
p.m. Yeah, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. If it's inclement weather, we will make adjustments and bring it either under the parking garage or inside. But we've made adjustments and pivoted before because of the weather. But we're excited about it. The community has always supported us. We want to continue to support the community.
So not only are you Chief Operations Officer, but you're Chief Nursing Officer. So you got these two big jobs trying to juggle these things. But more with your nursing hat, mm-hmm. I want you to tell us about the importance of what you can get at a farmer's market mm-hmm. that you may not be able to get on a regular basis at a big box store or your neighborhood convenience store at the gas station.
Absolutely.
Because we do have food deserts.
Yes. So I've been a nurse for 32 years. And what I've seen is, as an ER nurse, most of those years, and what I've seen is the results of bad eating show up in the crisis situation in the emergency room. Mm-hmm. And what we want to get people to think about is how can they do things on a daily basis that keeps them from their body in crisis, right? Mm-hmm. And so the closest you can get the food from the time it leaves the ground to the time it gets on your table, the less steps it takes, the better food is for you, right? So if the food has to go to a company and get processed, and then here it gets shipped, and then sit on the shelf in the warehouse for a month, and then come to the big box grocery store, that's a whole lot of time. So how do they keep that food healthy and looking good for the whole 2 months it took to get to the grocery?
In some cases, you're talking about across multiple states.
Right, across multiple states.
Not just around the community.
Right.
Where the food is grown.
And so the longer they have to keep that food kind of looking good and pretty so you'll buy it, probably the more things they've had to add to it that's not natural to our body that we have to process out, right? And so having local food markets allows us to have local vendors bring their food straight from their farms to the community, even if then we have some vendors who have made their own homemade, jams and jellies and sauces and things of that nature. Even that's just one step removed. You're getting it from the farm, you're getting it from they're making it in their shop, and then they're bringing it to the community. So as you can try your best to eliminate the number of steps it takes from the ground to your table, as you look at different types of food you're eating, it really makes a difference because our bodies are designed to process natural things, right? Natural meat, mm-hmm. natural fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. natural grains. So as close as we can get to the natural version of those things, the better it is for us.
So talk a little bit about kind of the things that more of us might be a bit more familiar with. So how do foods like this have an impact on diabetes, on blood pressure, those of us or those we love with potential stroke victims or have had stroke or cancer?
Yeah. So, June is Men's Health Awareness Month. So, as two Black men, we sit here, and in many cases, Black men sit at the bottom of the list as far as health outcomes. And so, a real big key I want to always mention is get your annual checkups. Check out where you are. I often equate it to men getting their oil change. We have no problem going every 5,000 miles to get our oil changed, right? We have no problem getting our tires rotated, right? We have no problem doing that. So often, our body is more valuable than the cars we drive. No matter what car you drive, your body is more valuable. So, which is, we're probably most people, I am very conscious about what gas station we go to, what gas we put in our car,
whether it's price or quality.
Right.
But yeah,
right. We're particular about what gas we put in our car. We just don't go put any gas in the car. Like, no. There's certain cars besides certain types of gas, besides premium. Some cars we got to get the premium gas. But we would do that for our cars. Why wouldn't we invest in premium food for our bodies? Right?
Premium food for our bodies.
Right. And so,
I have to say, I recently have not had some premium food in my body. So I have to work on that.
Work on that. Okay. So it's taking the extra effort. Yes, this takes a little extra effort to get the premium food for your body. But what it does, it stops you. Just like that junky gas will cause your car to have issues. The junky food will have your body get your body to have issues too, right? So it's convenient. Yeah, it's convenient to pull into McDonald's and grab something right quick. But would you take your Lexus and pull it into any old random gas station on the corner and just put in any old type of cheap gas? No, you wouldn't do that. You would take the extra effort to go down the street to the gas station where you can get some premium gas and put it in your car, right? Same thing. It takes a little extra effort. Go down the street and get some premium food to put in your body. Because when we put the junky food in our body has to work harder to process it. Not saying that it won't process it, but it just takes work. And over time, if you keep making your body do that extra effort, keep making it process the junky food, then it will sooner or later break down on you. And that will result in high blood pressure, diabetes, things of that nature, cancer. We have prostate issues, testicular cancer, colon cancer. So all these things are preventable things, and then they're manageable things. Even if you get the diagnosis, they're manageable things if you get them early, if you catch them early. First time they check engine light, like, come on, how long you drive your car with check engine light? I don't know, some people may drive forever with it, but I don't do that.
Right.
First time it come on, I go get it checked out.
Right.
So that's what your annual exam is. That's what those colonoscopies are. That's what getting your prostate checked. That's checking on the check engine light and making sure there's nothing major wrong. Like, could be something major, minor.
Right.
But where you just go in and get a colonoscopy. Oh, they found a little polyp, a little bump in there. They take it out, they grab it out, burn it out, whatever, and it's done.
Right.
But that thing, if you don't get it taken care of, it turns into colon cancer. So check engine light comes on, you don't get it checked out. You look up 6 months later, and your gases are wrecked up, your transmission is bad, you got some major issues, you got some major problems in your car, and which is going to cost you a lot to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Same thing. You don't get your colonoscopy, you wait a couple of years, that little polyp that took them 5 minutes to take out now is cancer. You got to go through a whole lot more to get it taken care of. Prostate, same thing. Get your prostate checked. get your PSA checked, get your prostate exam. Just some things you just got to get done, right? Catch it early, treat it early, you can get it fixed. So it really is about just taking care of ourselves, even better than we take care of our cars, but at least the same as we take care of our cars.
I hear you. Folks, it's 8:15 a.m. on WBOK, 12:30 a.m. You are listening to the Good Morning Show. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. And you're listening to our guest, C.J. Marbley, who is Chief Nursing Officer and Chief Operations Officer with the New Orleans East Hospital. And on Wednesday, which is the last Wednesday of the month, as they do each and every last Wednesday of the month, they're having a farmer's market from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So let's talk a little bit more about the market. So we're talking about things to do with your good health. So what are the healthy things that people can get at the farmer's market this week? And what are some of the things that might be enjoyable and treats that maybe they shouldn't load up on only, but will be available on Wednesday.
So we're excited because you come out there and you can load up your basket with healthy fruits and vegetables and different breads and things of that nature from the community, from the local farmers, local business people. And then you'll have others who have, jams and sauces and things of that nature to add to your, to your meals and things when you get home that, enhances the flavor of those things when you cook them. So it's great. Get a little balance there. And then you'll have some food trucks out there that you can get some quick food because, it's after work time, after school time. Sometimes you don't want to go hang out at the farmer's market and then go home and cook again. So you will have some options there where you can get some food, just supporting local businesses. And then you have different companies and different vendors out there, and you can go to LCMC Health and you can sign up as a vendor for New Orleans East Farmers Market. You can go right online to lcmchealth.org and sign up as a vendor. But you'll have other local businesses like Jenny's Sweets, Rodat Dough, Rose and Go Italian Ice, Old Sweet Lemon, Delights Candles. You have some. We also have some like Delights Candles. We have some vendors out there. They're selling different little merchandise and things of that nature. Just to add a little ambiance to your home or to your to your office or whatever.
Yeah.
E&E Essentials. We have Grownola. We have Munabata Care, Wellness, Honey, Barcelo Gardens out there, Arbery Sweets, Tumbler Creations, Italian Happy Ice, Mackenzie Snowball Factory. So Rooted out there. So it's a lot of different types of vendors out there. And we've even more than those I've named. Those just off the top.
Right.
Right. Even more than that, just really providing great service and great care for our community. And the other thing that it also lets you know, if you haven't been to New Orleans East Hospital, you get to come and see the building. It's a beautiful building.
It is a really beautiful building. I tell you what, I was taking my dad over there for an appointment, and I've taken him over there a number of times. So one day I'm driving him up, and I'm driving him up to the door, and then I will park the car, and then on the way walking back, I'm looking at the building, and I'm like, you know what? If it didn't say hospital,
yes,
it'd be like, this is a pretty wonderful building.
Yes.
It feels good.
Yeah.
The lights coming in.
Yeah, it feels
spick and span clean.
Looks like the old Galleria, kind of little bit. It's funny. I came there in 2017, and we still do. We do community activities at the Joe Brown Park.
Yeah,
and we do have our community team out there. You still see our purple vans all over the city, really helping to bring health care to the community. But often in 2017, even 2018, we'll be doing community activities, and people ask me, so where's the hospital? Because the hospital opened in 2014. And I was like, lean back. You see that building right there? They said, yeah. I said, that's the hospital. And they were like, oh, that's the hospital. It doesn't look like a hospital. I didn't think it was. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was a hospital.
Yeah.
So, one thing that COVID did was really introduce the building to the community because we gave out more vaccinations and did more testing than any other hospital in this city. Mm-hmm. The Max Vac Center downtown did more than us, but as individual hospitals, we did more at that small hospital than any other hospital in this region. Yeah, and so it introduced people to the community, to the hospital more, and we built on that.
Well, we're going to have to go to break soon, but there's a gift basket.
Yes,
going to be given away about 5 o'clock.
Yes, always a drawing. Get there, get your name in the drawing, and we love giving away gifts to the community.
All right, so that's the New Orleans East Hospital Farmers Market, last Wednesday of every month, and so that's Wednesday this week, June 25th, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. The drawing for the basket will be at 5 p.m., and so you don't know what's going to be in that basket, but it's going to be contributions from a number of the vendors. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a very nice basket. And you heard CJ talk about a number of the vendors who will be there. So we thank you very much for coming back again. Folks, you are listening to the Good Morning Show on WBOK 1230 AM. The talk line is 504-582-9422. Again, 504-582-9422. We'd love to hear from you. We know you got some things on your mind and maybe have some questions. Feel free to call 504-582-9422. You are listening to WBOK 1230 AM, the station that everybody's talking about all day long.
Didn't catch this morning's conversation? No worries. The Good Morning Show is now a podcast on all your favorite apps. Just search WBOK Media, find The Good Morning Show, and make it part of your daily routine. Download it, share it, and rate it 5 stars. Start your day with something real.
Good morning and happy Monday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. The LSU Tigers are once again on top of college baseball after beating Coastal Carolina yesterday afternoon. What's better, they swept their College World Series run. The final score was 5-3, securing the Tigers their 8th title in program history and 2nd in just 3 years. And if you have been following that Jell-O shot competition from Rocco's Bar in Omaha, LSU's final count was 52,390 Jell-O shots. That is enough to top this year's leaderboard, but did not beat their own record, which was set 2 years ago. Then maybe fill up your gas tank now instead of later. Experts say gas prices are likely going up following U.S. airstrikes on Iran over the weekend. Right now, the average price for a gallon of gas is $2.83 in Louisiana. That's up about 5 cents since Israel and Iran began attacks. And today in New Orleans, protesters will gather outside the federal building on Poydras Street to call on the president not to go to war in the Middle East. That is happening at 5:30 tonight. Also, today, one of the 10 inmates who escaped from Orleans Parish Jail will be in court. 21-year-old Gary Price is scheduled for a discovery hearing after being recaptured last month in New Orleans East. He was on the run for 4 days. He is currently being held without bond. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU. Have a great day.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 AM on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
In a nation once proud of its democratic ideas, we now find ourselves staring down a very disturbing image, one that looks less like a thriving republic and more like a scene from a Cold War dictatorship. On the president's birthday, no less, Lord have mercy, military troops and armored vehicles were deployed on the streets of the nation's capital. In Los Angeles, similar scenes played out, with armed soldiers in battle gear patrolling a small neighborhood once protected by local law enforcement. The justification? Undefined threats, unspecified dangers, and an obvious growing tendency from the Trump White House to conflate dissent with disloyalty. Let's be clear. When a sitting American president rolls military tanks down Pennsylvania Avenue for optics, not necessity, that's not strength, it's spectacle and weakness. America is a nation founded on the right to speak, to protest, and to assemble freely, rights that are protected under the Constitution. The imagery of soldiers in any city, absent a natural disaster or declared war, sends a different message, one of intimidation, not protection. This is how democracies are eroded, not with a coup or constitutional collapse, but with slow, seemingly justifiable steps, numbing us to the military presence in civic life, a demonization of the free press, political opposition, and stoking fear over facts. Moreover, fear is being used as a political weapon under the guise of patriotism. We're being encouraged to fear immigrants, fear our neighbors, fear the ballot box, and fear each other. The foundation of freedom is not fear, but courage. With that said, we must decide what kind of America we want. One with our children growing up saluting tanks and demagogues? One with our children growing up respecting the Constitution? Democracy demands vigilance. It demands that we speak up when the lines between security and suppression begins to blur. Power belongs to the people, not the palace, and certainly not a damn parade. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning. Wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Back to the Good Morning Show. If you haven't been listening, you've missed some great conversation. We heard we talked about what's happening in Iran. We talked with the mayor of Gary, Indiana. We have heard from C.J. Marbley about the New Orleans East Hospital Farmers Market, which is happening this Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And you know, we got some more. I want to share some stuff with you based on my experience and some most unfortunate news as well. So, as you know, I work at the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, and one of my colleagues, Marie Fazio, had a front page story in the paper on Saturday that really, really saddened and distressed me because her story is about the Amistad Center, Research Center, based at Tulane. The Amistad Center, which has collected and cared for millions of historical documents and artifacts for 6 decades. So they've been an important depository, an important place of research and community connection, and they have had 40% of the organization's $1.5 million budget cut based on federal funding. 40% of the budget for the Amistad Research Center. So the executive director, our friend, Kathy Hambrick, if you're in charge and you're responsible for managing the money and managing the operations and managing staff and programs, you have to look at everything, and she made the decision that she had to make based on losing 40% of the budget. So half of the staff, 14 staff members, half had to be laid off. With an operation like the Amistad Research Center, with all of the amazing work that they do, they couldn't do it without the staff and the funding for the programs and the research and all that they do. To have half of those people lose their jobs because the Trump administration has gutted the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, a federal agency that awards grants to libraries, museums across this nation, is a very sad thing. So when you hear news and information about these federal cuts, and maybe you think it doesn't affect you directly, it does in this way, because the Amistad Research Center has been so important to this community, New Orleans, Southern Louisiana, state of Louisiana, and this nation. There are people who come from across the nation and even the world to visit the Amistad Research Center and learn more about our people and our history. And it's accessible to the public, but now they have a skeleton crew. And, you know, one part of what they have to do is conservation work. So they may have documents, but you can't just get these documents and put them in a file folder and put them in a cabinet. You have to be careful with those kinds of things and relying on people who know what to do with paper documents, moving images, recorded sound. And when you lose the people who know what they're doing, that's really not a good thing. So they've lost the one grant that would have paid for the conversion of decades-old video and audio tapes of interviews with community members in Mound Bayou, that historic town in Mississippi, of formerly enslaved people, founded in the 1880s. And that's just one example of the type of thing that the center does. And I hope we're going to have time to talk with Kathy this week, because this is devastating news. Amistad Research Center is based at Tulane University on St. Charles, but it is an independent, community-based archive focused on our history, Black history, and the African diaspora, civil rights movement. And if you've never been there, please go, please visit, find out more about what they do. I mean, you'd probably be amazed at what they have, including artwork by Jacob Lawrence and personal papers of Frank Smith Horn. It's really amazing. You can go back over and over and over again and see new things. So, Kathy, if you're listening, I hope we can work with ace producer Naren Sanders and figure out when you might be able to come on and talk to us about what has happened and the importance of keeping your work going in the city of New Orleans for the sake of our people, our culture, and our history. I also wanted to share with you all something from a panel discussion that I heard that I thought was particularly enlightening. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a column that I wrote for this weekend. The headline is Celebrating 70 Years on Earth. I'm a young senior looking for more memories. So those who are regular listeners, you know that I hit the big 7-0 earlier this month, and I feel good about it. My wife and I, lovely wife, beautiful sister, Cheryl Sutton, and I went to the DMV, the District, Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C. area to visit family and friends. And we went to New Jersey to see friends. And so I wrote a bit about my looking back and thinking ahead about being 70 and what that looks like, having so much of my life gone by and more of my life coming up. I hope. One of the things that are included in the column is being challenged by a podcast conversation. And I'll read that part of what I wrote. I heard someone talk about an African tribal chief whose village included families who relied on each other. They did things together, even work. An anthropologist got to know the chief well enough that he invited him to his London home. After a week, the chief asked where he had been going each day. The guy said, work. The chief asked, if his family is so important, why did he leave them each day? Of course, he worked to make money to take care of his family. But I get the chief's point. Not a life that I live, and I certainly hope that I continue to work for that balance. I continue to work here at WBOK and at the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, because I enjoy it, because I feel good about it. But I know people have to make choices, and that's part of what I reference in the column, which you can find at NOLA.com. But right now, I'm going to take a break from this because my friend, Reverend Calhoun, is on the line. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun.
Good morning. Happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
My first comment is it really an orchestrated effort to destroy history, culture in the United States of people? I don't see it really being applied to any other group than the black folks. I don't see any other history being destroyed across the country as it's being destroyed in terms of our history. And let me get to this y'all old people problem. It's when you can know how you haven't enjoyed your life, or you're enjoying your life, I should put it that way. We face so many issues and troubles and trials and tribulations in a day's time. But to me, when God has blessed you with another day, to enjoy the day. You may not enjoy everything in the day, but you got to enjoy the day. When you reach the age level that you are, and I might get there, but when you get to that level to look back over where we come from, what we've been through, what we're going through, and just thank God for being here, just enjoying where you are. So many times we just don't seem to know how to enjoy life. We want to enjoy stuff and things and not really enjoy life. So with that, I just want to tell you happy belated birthday, because, you know, we only get 2 days a year. That's Father's Day and our birthdays. So, but, when you get time, we'll talk a little further about
Yeah, I got your message on Friday, and I will be in touch on
We're going to do
that.
the rib thing?
Say it again?
We're going to do the fried rib?
Absolutely. We're going to do something like that.
You know, when you get to a certain age, things don't digest the same way they used to do.
I know. Absolutely. So one of the things I learned from my birthday vacation was I have to be a bit more careful with my health. So listen up for that and see what you think about what I'm about to share.
All right, then.
Okay. Thank you so much for calling, Reverend Calhoun. Appreciate your call. As always, folks, you are listening to WBOK, 1230 AM, the Good Morning Show. The talk line is 504-582-9422, 504-582-9422. It is 8:41 a.m., 8:42 now. So if you got somewhere to be at 9 o'clock, and if you were supposed to be somewhere at 8:30, you late, but you might still have time in New Orleans where we can get some everywhere in 15 to 20 minutes. 8:42 a.m. And so I was talking about my my column. I'm not gonna read the whole thing to you, but I want to touching on some of what CJ was talking about earlier with the New Orleans East Hospital about health. One of the things I did on vacay was just take time to look at random things that I don't normally look at, and my best guy from high school, Bill Brusso, lives in Alexandria, right outside D.C., and my guy from college, from Hampton, lives in Hackensack, New Jersey, and I visited both of them, and then saw some other friends and family, and it was so good. But I have to say, the way the two of them look, they are so close to their high school weights and to their college weights that I'm about to say I'm ashamed, but I have nobody to blame but myself. I am nowhere near my St. Aug weight and nowhere near my Hampton weight. I was much more active then than I am now. My daddy is 94. He has remained active even now with some limited mobility. He exercises. And I found something called the Death Clock. And so I went online and tried out the Death Clock. It's for entertainment only, of course. But you answer some key questions. I did my honest questions, and I found out that according to the Death Clock, I have less than 6 years to live if I keep living the way that I am. But I made some adjustments on Death Clock and found that if I lost some weight, then a bit more weight, if I did a little bit of exercise, then if I did more exercise, I do other things and take care of myself, I might be able to make 93 years old, just shy of that birthday, almost 93. That's an amazing difference. Just 6 years more to go versus make it to 93. So I got to do more and better listening to my doctors and taking care of myself. And the primary person responsible, of course, is me. So I'm going to have to deal with those health issues, the weight, the exercise, and being less stressed. as a part of that. Again, that's my column on NOLA.com, celebrating 70 years on Earth. I'm a young senior looking for more memories if you'd like to read more about what I wrote. Folks, it's 8:45 a.m. We're getting close to the end of the show, but we're going to be taking a break momentarily. You're listening to WBOK, 12:30 a.m. The talk line is 504-582-9422. 504-582-9422. Call us, ask a question, talk about whatever it is on your mind on the Good Morning Show. You're listening to WBOK, 12:30 a.m., the station that everybody's talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Another hot and humid day across southeast Louisiana with highs in the low to mid-90s and a chance for scattered afternoon showers and storms. Not everyone will see rain, but keep the umbrella nearby just in case. This pattern holds throughout the week. Daily storm chances, highs in the 90s and lows staying into the 70s each night. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
That's right. It's party time each and every Sunday night at 7 p.m. on WBOK. It's the Throwback Throwdown with DJ Wick as he brings you the best in old school from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early 2Ks. Plus, the party goes to another level at 9 p.m. with the Throwback Throwdown Party Mix to round out the night. It's the Throwback Throwdown Sunday nights at 7 p.m. on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
One of the things that I did this weekend was attend parts of the Investigative Reporters and Editors Conference hosted at the New Orleans Marriott on Canal Street. These are some very, very talented, smart journalists. Some time ago when I went to one of these, there was, you could literally count the number of black folks in attendance on one hand. It was that white. It's still predominantly white, but I'm happy to say that I saw at least 30, 40, maybe even close to 50 black journalists in that at that conference, attending, participating, presenting, sharing their knowledge, their thoughts, how they did deep dives into news. Investigative reporters oftentimes are not following the breaking news. They are the folks that are looking for the news, looking to do accountability journalism, looking to hold public officials and business folks accountable for what they do in our communities. And part of what they do is infuse their skills into those who do cover the breaking news, those who are going to city council meetings, and those who are covering mayors, and those who are covering the state legislature. So some investigative tools and skills can be used in daily reporting, which makes it better for you, better for us, as we pursue the democracy we're supposed to be pursuing in this republic of ours. Because the more we know about what's going on, the more we can evaluate where we are, where we have been, and where we need to go. One of the sessions that I sat in on Friday, you heard from a couple of National Association of Black Journalists leaders, including Walter Smith Randolph, who is Vice President of Broadcast. And you also heard from former National NABJ President, Dorothy Tucker. I sat in on a panel that she was a part of, and I found her segment, and we don't have time to play all of it. I found her segment so interesting because she was challenging the journalists in the room to be careful about their word choices. So yes, this was a conference of investigative reporters and editors, but it applies to all journalists. And I thought really it should apply to all of us, journalists and non-journalists. And I want you to hear a piece of what she said at the conference on Saturday afternoon. Dorothy Tucker.
Of course, children are not the only ones impacted by biased reporting. In a 2020 report by the Media Diversity Institute found, and I quote, "Culturally insensitive reporting can perpetuate negative stereotypes and reinforce existing power dynamics." Next one. And here is why it matters to all of us. A study by the Poynter Institute concluded journalists who are culturally aware are more likely to produce high-quality reporting that resonates with a diverse audience. Next. So, here are the tools that I want to share with you to improve your cultural competency. You can Google each one of these organizations yourself and find the links. I've just got a couple of examples. First of all, the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. When I spoke to their president, she said, covering the ICE raids, in particular, she is asking that you please say or write consistently undocumented immigrants. Why? Because those who have gained legal status are afraid of racial profiling. They fear that they will be perceived as someone who does not belong in this country, so the distinction is very important to them. Next slide. Asian American Journalists Association, she asked me to share a reminder. Illegal can be used to describe an action, but applying it to an immigrant is inaccurate and dehumanizes the person described. And the term kamikaze drone is an inaccurate and insensitive way to describe an exploding unmanned aircraft. And the 120,000 Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals detained during World War I were incarcerated, not interned. Next, the National Association of Black Journalists. I was the former president. Avoid the term BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color. Many feel that it dilutes their ethnicity. It is acceptable in quotes. Another term to avoid is Black leader. It implies one person is a spokesperson for all Black people. When referring to a local Black person in a leadership position, state the organization he or she belongs to. And one more. When a Black person is the victim of police brutality, do not report the victim's background. That information is often seen as a justification of the use of force when it is not relevant to the story. Next, the Association of LGBTQ plus journalists. I spoke to their president, and he said that 90% of the issues they have with journalists centers around transgender coverage. They mentioned the recent stories about the transgender athletes that we've seen, and they wanted me to share the terminology that some journalists use was biological female. The correct terminology would have been sex assigned at birth or gender identity. Next, the Arab and Middle Eastern Journalists Association. Arab Americans have a deep history of fear of the media. They are hesitant to be interviewed because many view us, journalists, as insensitive to their community. They are offended when someone asks, for example, if they condemn Hamas or any news event that happened in a place they do not live and may have never traveled to. Next. I was unable to reach somebody in the time that I had at the Indigenous Journalists Association, but there was a post on X that I found pretty interesting. It said, in the wake of the election, an exit poll conducted by Edison Research showing that 65% of American Indians voted for Donald Trump has been circulated by various news organizations. It went on to say, this poll is highly misleading and irresponsible. American Indians only represent 1% of the total voters surveyed, meaning that a few hundred self-identifying respondents are being used to represent the diverse interests of millions of Indigenous people across the country. None of the exit polls locations, for example, were on tribal land. Next. Finally, I went to the Marshall Project style book and I learned something that I didn't know. The term inmate is frowned upon. It is considered dehumanizing and an unfair stigma for many. According to the project, 74% of the people held in jails have not been convicted of a crime. Technically speaking, they are inmates because of their physical location, but inmate is imprecise because it is widely perceived as an assignment of guilt. It is better to say John Doe was incarcerated at FCI Memphis, or Jane Doe, who was serving 12 years in San Quentin. You will find the links on this next page. These are some others that I found, like AP, SPJ, and some others that will also give you a guide for words to use and language to use. How much time do I have?
You're over. Well, this is such a good topic. Please keep going.
All right, so here's why it was important to me to share this, because when I speak from experience, when you talk about just words, I was 12 years old when King was murdered. I was from the west side of Chicago. 1968, April 4th. And I went back and looked. I grew up at a time feeling like I was ashamed of where I was from. I was embarrassed to say that I was from the west side of Chicago. It took me years to overcome that feeling. And when I went back and looked up, how was it reported? April 4th, 1968. And what I found was that CBS News did a special report, and they looked at all the cities in the country where there was the worst rioting. And they chose Chicago as an example. And they used words like ghetto in describing my home. They used words like crime-ridden in describing my home. And then I understood that from then on, from the time that I was a kid, throughout college, I wouldn't even tell anybody when I went to Northwestern where I grew up because I was ashamed. it does have an impact. It makes a difference. It changes who you are. So I just want to make sure that all of these style books, please download them, read them, share them. In this time, unlike any other, it is critical, it is important that we respect everybody's community.
All right, so words matter. Words matter. And I was very pleased to hear my colleague and friend, Dorothy Tucker, speak on that. And of course, with the limited amount of time, she only was able to talk about certain words and certain phrases. And I'd be curious to know what you all think. But you're going to have to do that tomorrow or the next day, because it's time for us to wrap up. It's 9 a.m. You've been listening to the Good Morning Show on WBOK, 1230 a.m. And we pray that Dr. Wyatt will heal and get better. Meanwhile, WBOK, 1230 a.m., the station that everybody's talking about all day long.